This week on the Baseline Podcast, Josh and I are back breaking down college football and the NFL. We're going to first bring you our ACC predictions and preview. We're going to talk about the teams that have no chance and the teams that will be contending at the end of the year. And then we're going to be talking about the AFC East. Will the Patriots get out of the bottom of the cellar? And will the Miami Dolphins be able to win this division? All that and so much more coming up on the Baseline Podcast. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben. That's Josh. And it is halfway through July. It's crazy to think about. Football's around the corner. You know, basketball's happening. The Olympics are happening here in like 2 weeks. Lauren Kuhn, a Cedarville alumni and a good friend of mine, him and his wife are heading to Kenya, and on their way to France, they ran into Jimmer Fredette and part of the 3-on-3 basketball team that are going to be in the Olympics. So very fascinating time to be around the sports world and traveling and all that fun stuff. But Josh, how has your week been? I know it's literally storming as I'm recording this right outside right now. So as long as we don't lose electricity at this moment in time.
Yeah, I just finished my 7th straight 12-hour shift last night. So now I get 2 days off before I got to go back for 4 more. I wish, though, I could have been watching the Home Run Derby.
It was good, man.
All-Star
It was
game.
actually good. Like, it was really good this year. And the jerseys were on fire. A lot of people made fun of the jersey. I thought they were fire.
I thought they were gross.
I thought they were great. I don't know what it was. I liked the little. I will say though, Ellie De La Cruz's cleats were just beautiful.
Yeah.
The little baby blues, they were beautiful. But yeah, it was good.
7.7 million viewers,
yes,
I think, the
which
most
is the most
for
ever. Yeah,
all the sports All-Star games, I think. So
and
very
I think
exciting.
I know that this is our football continued talk, but I do want to mention that I think Josh and I, we've said this on this show for the last 2 years. We both believe that the MLB All-Star Game is by far, like it's not close, by far the best All-Star experience.
Best All-Star game
fans,
out of all the major four leagues.
Fans, for the players, like the players enjoy it. Like you look at the NBA All-Star Game, like it doesn't even look like the players truly enjoy it. It's like they're here.
It's just them and like all the famous rappers and Hollywood celebs just,
exactly,
in their little big fun house.
But it feels like with baseball, it's like even they asked Paul Skeens, like, why'd you stay? He goes, because this was like, I wanted to be a part of this. Like, you know, because a lot of the pitchers, they leave early. If they've already pitched, a lot of them will leave the game early and head to their next location. But he's like, no, I didn't want to leave. Like, I wanted to be a part of this. And I think that's what baseball is. Baseball's America's game. And I think that it just showed it. And to see Ellie De La Cruz, to see Paul Skeens, to see all these young dudes, for us, it's kind of cool. It's like, you know, we grew up with a new generation going to these All-Star games, and now we're witnessing another new generation that's making baseball even more exciting than what it was before. Mason Miller.
Shout out to my Cleveland Indians too. Emmanuel Clase came in for the save. David Fry had the game tying RBI.
His second career All-Star game save, by the way.
Yes. So Cleveland players showed up.
The Reds players
contributed.
The Reds players did all right.
You had a couple.
Ellie had a single, and Hunter Green pitched a shutout inning. So, you know.
Yeah,
they did okay. It wasn't great. We had the coach, you know, by the way, it was all Diamondbacks coaches except Bell. So, you know, there we go. But enough of the baseball talk. I know it's kind of crazy. The Olympics are coming up, which we'll try to kind of fit in the Olympic talk as the Olympics start, which I think they start here in a week and a half, I believe. So that's gonna be an exciting time. But Josh, we have arrived at another Power Four. It's just weird to say Power Four. Power Four conference. The ACC, which might go down as the most wild conference of the Big Four. And let's talk about it. Obviously, we have new additions. We have Stanford, California, SMU. Do you want to, let's do your spiel to give us an overview of the conference and what we're going to be seeing this year.
Yeah, with those new additions, I think the conference now has 17 teams,
which is weird.
I would
17
guess
is weird.
The largest out of all the P4 conferences.
No, Big Ten. Big Ten, I think,
Big Ten have 18?
Yeah, they have 18.
Okay, we'll have to check that later. I'm
pretty sure the only reason I know this is because I was watching a gameplay on Dynasty in the new college football game, and you can only have 20 teams in a conference. In the Big Ten, you can only add 2. That's the only reason I remember that. So unless the game's wrong, which I doubt it.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going off of.
Gotcha. Well, 17
because they added 4 because there was 14, and then they added 4 teams. The Big Ten. Because they added 4 teams.
Okay. They had 14 before.
And I think the SEC might be 18 as well. I'm not sure on that.
I thought they were 16.
I don't know. Something like that. Anyways,
It's a big
ACC is
conference.
being weird, and they have 17. They should just make it even and make it 18. Notre Dame, what are you doing?
Yeah, if they were still doing divisions, yeah, I don't know how they would
It would just be
go
weird.
about that. Yeah, but we've been going over tiers, teams that we think got
Mhm.
no shot, teams that we think maybe don't have a shot to win the
Yeah,
conference or make the
yeah,
playoff,
yeah.
but should be exciting or have other interesting
Hmm.
storylines. And then we
Yeah,
got like the main contenders. And
yeah.
we'll start off, at the bottom with the ones that
Started from the
don't have a
bottom, now we're
shot.
here.
Yeah,
Started from the bottom, now the whole team. Sorry, I'm so sorry, guys. We should never see Ben rap again.
good call. But my number one no shot, I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off with one of the new teams, Stanford.
Oh, that's an easy one. I think we all
Stanford's an easy one. They finished 3-9 last year. They
so
do rank,
bad,
I
dude.
think, top 10 in the country in returning production. But if it's all guys back from a 3-win team, I can't imagine things are going to be getting any better for these guys.
So true. It's so true. No, I was thinking about this too because you look at the Big Ten, right? They added UCLA, they added USC, they added Oregon, Washington. Teams that are solid, right? And you look at the
Hmm.
SEC, added Texas, Oklahoma, the ACC, California, decent. SMU depends on
So,
the year, and then you
hmm.
add Stanford. Like, I'm sorry, Stanford. Like, you haven't been good since Jim Harbaugh was there. So yeah, I just think that that's the thing that was really fascinating is like they return 10, the top 10 in percentage of returning players, but it's like if your team was that bad and you're returning these players, like unless they come completely and take steroids or something and become all out elite athletes, I don't know how that changes. And you're running a pro style offense, which we know in this day and age in college football does not do well.
Yeah, you really got to be much more open to the spread and some other options and stuff like that, the college game.
I mean, even
But,
Michigan, like they run it out of the spread. Like they still run their power game, but they run out of the spread.
right. Number two team for me with no shot, I'm going with Virginia.
Yeah, they're
It's
bad, dude. They're also
it's
bad.
just it's just tough. I know not too long ago they won the Orange Bowl. They beat my Florida Gators. They won the Coastal Division when we were still
That
doing
feels like forever
divisions.
ago, though. That feels like so long ago.
Yeah, every now and then they'll get a talent like Brandon Armstrong was there for a little bit, I
Yeah, he was
think. Bryce
good. Well, they had
Perkins,
Malik Washington the last 2 years that freaking racked up what a ton of yards every year. Their wide
but
receiver.
even still, just a 3-9 record
Yeah.
last year. 81% return production, but like I said with Stanford, it doesn't really matter if you got everybody coming back from a bad team. I think there's a lot of work to be done there. They're always looked at as a basketball school. Every now and then they'll have something that they might be able to build to that's decent. But yeah, Virginia, I'm gonna go ahead and say no
Yeah.
shot.
I've also wondered too with Virginia is like I mean, it just sucks like the location they're in, man. It's like it almost feels like Liberty has a better shot to get some of these players and to have more. I don't know what it is. I just feel like Virginia's in a weird spot. You're competing with West Virginia, Virginia Tech, all the Carolina schools to get these guys, Maryland and all these other schools. I just feel like Virginia's always got like they're always seem like a step below everything or everyone, at least in football. And I know people that went there, and I know people that talk highly about their head coach, but it's like there's a point where you got to put it together. We talked about it with Nebraska last year. We've talked about it with other schools. Like, yeah, there's the opportunity for it to be there. It's just when will it happen? When will it appear? Is the question I think we all have to answer with them.
Right. I'm gonna throw a third team up on the board now, and
Yeah.
let's see if you agree with me. Wake Forest.
See, they were on the line for me, and to be honest,
This is
I in my list I put them in both. I put them in both sections because I didn't know where to put them because
okay.
3 years ago we're talking about a really good team, a 10-win team, a team with a good quarterback with a great offense. I love their slow mesh, by the way. I don't know if you've seen it. It's phenomenal. Their slow read option, it's great. Where they just like
Hmm.
wait, like literally to the last second. It's like a walking spread. It's kind of color. It's crazy, but um, yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I really think that Wake Forest. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Like you could probably get more into detail, but I just feel like they're not trending in the right direction. I don't see them making the moves when it comes to getting recruits, getting guys to stay, getting developing guys. I think they have a few decent guys on the defense side of the ball, but it to me it's like they had that 1 year. but they couldn't keep any of it. And I think that shows a program that's either trending towards success or is successful is how many guys can you keep?
6 of the last 8 seasons under Dave Clawson, they have finished above 500. But last year, first year without Sam Hartman, 4-8. Yeah, it's really hard to get talent to come to Wake Forest.
People don't realize how small it is, by the way. People don't realize how small a school it is. Like, it's not a big school. I have the numbers right here. Let me pull it up. Wake Forest right here. It is, there's only 9,000 students this past year enrolled. Compared, the next lowest is SMU has more people attending there. Notre Dame has more people, which you know how strict Notre Dame is. And then even Duke has more. Like, so you're talking like 2,000 less than SMU, and then you're talking, it's crazy how small they are. I don't think people realize how small Wake Forest is. Like, it's not a big university by any means. They just so happen to have really good funding towards their sports. And so, it's very interesting to me.
I guess the one interesting thing I'd be looking at here is how they bounce back in year 2 post Sam Hartman, who they're going to have come up because, like I said, Dave Clawson has been able to find ways to win games here. It hasn't been anything glamorous.
Is he on the hot seat? He's been there for what, 9-10 years, I believe, something like that. It's been there for a while.
10 seasons last year. This is going on to year 11.
So how much longer do you go? Okay, I mean, if he turns around, then obviously you keep him around. But then how much? You know what I'm saying? Like, how much do you give him that opportunity?
They have a reputation, I think, of really being patient with head coaches because Jim Grobe, the last guy before him, was there like 12 or 13 seasons, and he had only a couple winning seasons over there. I think Wake Forest is just aware of like football success is not going to always be
It almost
there.
reminds you of like a basketball school. You know, like how a lot of these basketball schools, they have a guy there for like 13, 15, 16 years. They might not be great, but he's a guy that's either a local guy or a guy that really fits in. I just feel like, let's be honest, if you're a coordinator, like Wake Forest job opens up, like, are you jumping at the Wake Forest job? That's the question we ask.
How bad do you want to be a head coach? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one. This is another tough one. Boston College.
Yeah, new head coach. I love Bill O'Brien. Like, Bill O'Brien. Again, he was an offensive coordinator for 2 weeks at Ohio State. People forget that. It's actually on his bio, which I think is hilarious. Dude, it's just Boston College could be so much fun if they were good. Like, they would be so much fun to watch. And I just feel like we're like, Boston College is like kind of the laughing stock. At least when I was growing up, it was always like, your team played Boston College. Oh, it's a win. You know, and like I miss the Matt Ryan days. Like, that was some good times for Boston College. But yeah, man, it's hard to see this team winning like 5 games. They maybe win 6, but Bill O'Brien's going to need to do some work to really, I think, turn this program where it needs to be. Jeff Hafley, I mean, literally Jeff Hafley left the job to go be a defensive coordinator. Like, I know there's other factors, but like, I'm just saying, you know.
The last time they won double-digit games in a season was 2007. I think that's when Matt Ryan was playing quarterback.
Yep. Matt Ryan,
went 11-3.
Like I said, they were like the laughing stock growing up, man. Like, it was just Boston College.
And under Hafley, when he was there, they won 6 games, 3 games, and 7 games.
Ooh.
So it's like they're in the middle of the pack. They probably win the games they should and lose the games they should. But even still, like 7 games isn't going to do any like damage in the ACC or make anybody scared.
Yeah, for sure.
This is another one that we probably should have said sooner, but Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I think they have more upside than these other teams. I think Georgia Tech could fall in that middle section, but I do feel like they're more towards the bottom. I think they have a really good quarterback. His name's escaping me, but I love the quarterback they have. I think he's a very underrated talent. I saw some flashes last year of when he would use his legs, and so for me, like, I think Georgia Tech has some foundation. It's hard for me to see them winning more than 5-6 games, but I do think there is that foundation there to give them a chance to be in that next tier. But I don't think they'll be there. I think they'll end up being in that lower tier of the ACC.
You're talking about Haynes King.
Yes, Haynes King. I really like
former
his game.
Failure at Texas A&M under Jimbo Fisher, but
like,
comes over to
I mean,
Georgia Tech
he's
can
not,
win more games than he did over there.
Yeah, like he's not anything fantastic, but he's just for what they need at Georgia Tech. They're not running the triple option anymore. Like they needed a guy they could build on going away from that. I think he's been that perfect guy.
Yeah, Brent Keefe, first-year head coach, last year finishes 7-6. They're going away from the triple option. I think Georgia Tech is one of those schools, like in Atlanta, Georgia, Ben.
Yeah,
So much potential to like be a big school. They've been able to
technically,
have
it's Georgia Institute of Technology.
the Georgia Institute of Technology. Okay, nerds. That's why you're not winning on the field anymore. Their last season where they won double-digit games was 2014. They won 11-3 that year under Paul Johnson.
People forget they're one of the best wide receivers of all time went to Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I'd like to know how that worked. Like, what was the recruiting pitch to get Calvin Johnson to come to a triple option heavy school?
If I remember, he wasn't a high rated guy coming out of high school. And I also wonder, like a lot of these receivers, like because he was a bigger guy, like did they talk to him about tight end? I don't know, but I mean, this dude went from like catching like very little, kind of like Michael Thomas at Ohio State, not getting a ton of receptions, and then to being just a stud in the NFL. I mean, he had flashes for sure. If you look at some of those highlights in college, he was a freak. I mean, 6'5", 220 in college. I'm sorry, you're a receiver that does that in college, you're winning every single time.
Yeah. Georgia Tech always like never was elite, but they were like a solid team when we were growing up as kids, and they've just been like laughing stock for so long. But the potential's there. But I'm gonna have to, I guess, wait and see a little bit more on Georgia Tech. But I'm not gonna give them much of a shot this season.
Yeah.
Was there anyone else in your no shot category?
No, not really. No, I mean, Pittsburgh's on the line for me, but I think they're more in the next tier, to be honest with you.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and kick it off with Pitt in that next tier.
Yeah, I think they're just good enough to be above that. I think they're going to be over 500, but I wouldn't be shocked if they have a bad season because that's Pitt for you. Some would say they have pitfalls.
Pitfalls. Well done, Ben.
Good today.
Pat Narduzzi teams you can always expect to be gritty, hard-nosed, tough.
Gritty. Oh, I like that one. That was good.
I think that's why they always are able to maybe win more games than they should. They make up for that lack of talent with the effort and the hard work on the field there. But I don't think they're gonna like be in contention to win the conference or anything like that. Like they were when they had Kenny Pickett and Jordan Addison. That was more of a one-off team.
That was a rare time for Pitt fans.
A rare time for Pitt fans, yeah. So I could expect them to come maybe better than what they finished last year. Let me pull up what their record was last year. I can't remember exactly. It wasn't anything super special though.
No.
They had a lot going again. Okay, yeah, 3-9. Like not usually what we expect from Pitt.
No, I think that's
especially
why
after the 9-4, the 11-3 season.
It's hard for me to see them go back-to-back years bad. Like these other teams, I could see them going back-to-back years bad, but it's just hard for me to see them just have a terrible year and then a terrible year.
Yeah, the intrigue is like, how are they going to bounce back? I think that's what I'm looking for is will they or how will they? Next team in this list for me, Cal.
Yeah, Cal.
Mostly because they're new. They got some that they can build off of, as we were talking about.
They got Jay Knott, who's a freaking beast. That man is a very underrated running back, in my opinion.
Yeah, a new team coming over. They definitely are going to have a lot of travel time. I've heard Josh Pate, I think, say that they're going to travel like the circumference of the earth, just with how much they're going to be going to the East Coast now from over there. Yeah, it is crazy. But Cal, I think will be they're never like a team that's like
they'll be a sleeper
elite
team. They'll be a team that I think pulls off some upsets, I think, in the ACC.
They've had a rough way to go, like in the Pac-12 too. The last several years, there's just been a lot of good football over there. So the ACC's, it's going to be an easier level of competition for them
for sure.
And I'm going to be I guess interested to see like if the record reflects that.
Yeah.
Let's see. How about we talk about Virginia Tech?
Yeah, I think this is where I say though this. Yes, Virginia Tech falls in this tier, but I would not be shocked if Virginia Tech does have push for that title. The reason, the amount of guys they have, the talent they have there, the talent they've brought in, the way the coaching staff over the last few years has slowly changed and developed into kind of what they're doing. I think they're kind of a sleeper team. I don't know why. I've also heard many good reporters around college football say that watch out for Virginia Tech. You never know what's going to happen with Virginia Tech. So
yep.
That seems like a team that could easily be a 9-3 team, and it wouldn't shock me.
So they finished above 500 in the ACC for the first time last year since 2019. They weren't really good against good teams. Florida State, Louisville, and NC State beat them by a combined 108-48 margin ban. But they turned a corner at the end of the year, finished 7-6, made it to a bowl game. A young team that's got a lot of returning production back. Top 10 in the country in that. So, like I said with the other teams, if it's a 3-win team, not so great. But if it's a team that's building towards something, and they seem to find some momentum when Kyron Jones took over at quarterback. And they also should have maybe the best defensive back duo or corner duo in the conference.
Yeah, they have a very good corner.
Their defense did carry them a lot last year. It was a unit that ranked like top 20, top 25 in a handful of the big categories.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you on the sleeper with Virginia Tech. I'm not going to say that this is the year they win it yet, but I think they're definitely on their way, and it's going to be interesting. I'm going to pull up the schedule here real quick because I could see 8 wins, I think, on this for them. They've got Vanderbilt to open the year.
Win.
Marshall.
Win.
Old Dominion.
Win.
Rutgers.
Win. For sure.
Man, Virginia Tech could start off 4-0. That's a pretty solid out of conference
Old
schedule.
Dominion is a tricky one, though. They've lost to Old Dominion a few times the last few years, so.
True. They open up conference play with Stanford and Boston College.
Win. That's 6-0.
Georgia Tech, home game.
Win. 7-0.
Then I'd say the first test, like big test, will be Syracuse.
Win.
Maybe.
8-0. 8-0.
They host Clemson.
Loss.
They're at Duke.
Win.
And then they host Virginia.
Win. 10-1.
10-2?
10-2, sorry.
I think it's 12 games.
No, you did 11 games.
Do they only play 11 regular season games?
You did 4, right?
No, there's 12.
So no, you did the 4 games.
The 4 to kick off the year, yeah.
4 of those, so 4-0. Then you
the
said
conference
Stanford.
games. The conference games are Miami, Stanford.
Oh, you didn't
Boston
say Miami.
College.
You skipped over Miami.
Oh,
so I think they beat Miami, beat Stanford. I think they go 11-1. I'm being just generally honest with you. They lose. I think they have an easier ACC schedule than some.
They do. I mean, they avoid SMU. They avoid Florida State.
Yeah, I think they win all those games except. I'm now talking myself into.
They avoid Louisville.
Yes,
NC State.
I'm telling myself that they have North Carolina. They don't play North Carolina. I am now talking myself into them moving up a tier for me. I can't. I mean, you tell no
contender for the conference, huh?
Tell me, Josh. Look at that schedule. Tell me they don't at least win 11 games, maybe 10 games at the least.
I don't know. I think we'll get into it. I think I'm higher on Miami than you are. I think I'm higher on Duke than you are. Clemson, that's going to be interesting, depending on if they find a way to break this cold streak that they got. And then Syracuse could be an interesting game, like I said, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm not as bold on Virginia Tech. I think that they are building something. I just think that it's going to be 8 wins, which is still an improvement from last year.
But I could tell though, you did start realizing, they have an easier schedule than you realized a little bit. Because I think it is possible, but you can say it is possible to see them win 11 games. If you look at because I think Duke and Syracuse are 2 teams that they could challenge, but I think at the end of the day, I'm not high on Duke as you are, and definitely Miami, because Miami's been so freaking inconsistent. It's hard for me to believe in Miami at all. Syracuse is interesting because it's a dome. Is it at home or is it the dome?
That game is at Syracuse.
So see, that's always interesting because the dome just does some weird things to people. But yeah, at the worst I say 10-2. At the best I say 11-1.
Wow.
That's what I'm gonna say. I talked myself into it. And look, if at the end of the year Ben was right, and I want you to laugh at Josh. That's all I'm going to say. I want you to be like, Ben told you so.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my 8-4 prediction,
But we
if the
both
talent
agree.
on the
But
roster
we
is
both
actually
agree.
all that,
Yeah, we
if
both
the
agree
talent on
that
the
they're
roster is
there.
actually all that, this should be a 10-win team.
Yes, we both agree that they're there, though. They're on their way.
Yeah, and it's very cool because Virginia Tech is one of those teams that
That is just fun.
I don't think they've been good since Tyrod Taylor was quarterback.
Dude, the entrance for Virginia Tech will go down as like one of my favorites of all time.
It's very good. Like it's honestly a darn shame that they've been like
so
bad for so long. Like kids today don't even think of Virginia Tech as like a premier program.
Exactly. Same as West
used
Virginia.
Used to be right up there. Kids probably like, why would Michael Vick ever go to a school like that?
We all asked the question.
I'm gonna tell you a story, son.
Let me tell you about
Virginia
back
Tech
in the
football.
day. Back when the Rock mattered.
Yeah. Oh man. So why don't we just go ahead and talk about Duke now?
Yeah. They're
new head coach Manny Diaz, new quarterback Malik Murphy, and a favorable schedule that I'll go ahead and read after we get a little bit more into the roster itself, Ben. But they did some really good stuff under Mike Elko. He's gone now. Obviously, Riley Leonard's all gone now. I think there's enough on the roster here to still be exciting, but nothing like what I think Mike was able to do. Defensive-minded head coach too. I'm not sure how much. Well, Mike Elko was a defensive-minded head coach too, so maybe not as strong of a point. But I like Riley Leonard a little better than Malik Murphy. I think Malik Murphy's talented, but at least in the two games he started for, started 2 games last year in the absence of Quinn Ewers. Looked decent. Nothing that was like super spectacular, flashy. But
he reminds me
I think he'll settle in.
He reminds me of Melton from Tennessee from last year. Like that same like raw, has good potential. What can they get out of him? That's how I view him.
Okay. Gotcha. Defensively, a defensive head coach will love this. The top 3 tacklers, Trey Freeman, Jalen Stinson, and Nick Morris, are all back. However, I think, if I remember right, all 4 of their defensive linemen from last year are gone, either to the draft or to the portal. So, gonna have to fill some holes in over there. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I guess I got on as far as Duke goes. If you got anything to add,
not really.
And read the schedule.
Duke is Duke. I don't know. Like, I never get hyped about Duke in football. I'm just always like, if they're good, not surprising. If they're bad, not surprising.
Yeah,
like me mid.
Usually, I won't get too excited either. Although, like winning at Duke is like really hard to do. So when someone does it, I'm like, okay, respect.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So, out of conference is super favorable, just like it was for Virginia Tech. We got Elon, Northwestern.
Elon Musk. Sorry.
I guess he started his school.
Sorry.
I was waiting for you to say it as soon as I said it. Elon, Northwestern, UConn, and Middle Tennessee.
4 wins.
Now in the conference play, they kick it off with a home game against North Carolina.
Loss.
Big rivalry game. At Georgia Tech.
Win.
Then this is where it gets real hard, and this is probably where the wheels fall off. Host Florida State.
Loss.
Host SMU.
Loss.
At Miami.
Loss.
At NC State.
Loss.
Host Virginia Tech.
Win. A loss. Because
then they finish at Wake Forest.
Win. So I have them at like 5 and 7. It looks like.
Yeah, I think that they will. I think that they will beat North Carolina and Georgia Tech. So I'm going with like a 7-5 record.
I'll say 6 and 6 just to be even. I don't think they're gonna be better. They'll barely be better than 500 or just under 500. I don't think they're gonna be any more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going with like 7-5. I think it'll be interesting just with the new faces there, and they do have, like I said, a really tough middle of the schedule right there. That if they can maybe pull off 1 or 2 of those, maybe they are looking at an 8-win season.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's Duke for you right there. Let's go to another team that I think is interesting, and that is Clemson.
So you have them in this tier and not challenging.
I don't know if Clemson can challenge.
After what I heard Dabo say today, I don't think he deserves to be challenged. I don't think they deserve to be in the challenging world.
What did he say? I might have missed that.
Supposedly, I didn't read the whole thing. Supposedly, he said something about how he's mad about the new playoff system format, and then some analysis guy said, "Well, you haven't been there in the last 4 years, so why does it matter?"
That is true. Yeah, Clemson, Ben, they've gone from winning 2 national championships in 3 years to losing games they shouldn't early in the season and basically having to try to climb their way back and fight to have
it's
some
it's
kind
the
of a
Ohio
case.
State plague, man. It's the Ohio State plague. Once he said that they shouldn't be in the top 10, it all went downhill. Just saying.
I'm going to go ahead and say it's more so that they just refuse to use all the new tools that are at their disposal. They still don't ever grab anybody from the portal. They don't care about paying recruits NIL money.
When is a freshman, like a recruit, going to go, like, when do you think the wheels are going to fall off? Like, do you think this is the year where like recruits are finally like, okay, this is not a place I want to go? Like, when is that point happening? That's my question.
It's just, and then we've talked about like the assistant hires that he's made before. Garrett Riley is over there. That was like the first one that we really liked, and we thought Dabo might be like finally like getting his head out of his butt and updating with the times, but it didn't do a whole lot. Like working with Cade Klubnik last year just did not work. And since you brought up recruiting, Ben, 2024 class still ranked pretty well at 11th.
Which is crazy to me. It's just
I don't know how they're still pulling kids over, and it ranked 11th last year too. Like,
it's just
when will the wheels fall off over here? I don't know, but
I mean, he has to win this year, right? Like you have to think.
Would you fire a head coach that won 2 national championships though?
No, but this is my question though. If he doesn't make the playoff when there's 12 teams in a playoff,
okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, if there's 12 teams in the playoff and you can't make, 11 teams because the one team goes to the non-power 5. Isn't that like a point where you're like, okay, you've done nothing in the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
We really have to go a different direction. Because if he's not willing to adapt and he's not putting the progress on the field, when do you say this is time to go? Right. And we've seen it done in basketball. We've seen it done in other sports where coaches won championships and then gets fired because they're not living up to that expectation that they've set themselves for. And I've always believed Dabo has a high expectation for himself, but I feel like he's just kind of comfortable where he's at, and he's not willing to take that risk. Like look at Ryan Day. Look at Ryan Day. That's my example. Ryan Day every year has had to make differences and changes in order to improve himself, to improve the program.
He's working on it. Yeah. Dabo's just staying with the same old stuff outside of like the Garrett Riley hire. That's really the only time he's gone like out of like his normal Dabo way.
Yeah. He's still living on, oh, I had Trevor Lawrence, I had Travis Etienne. Like he's still living on that. Like, I'm like, great. That was 5 years ago, pretty much. Like you got to get past that.
4 losses in the ACC last year is just like, what are you doing?
Mind-boggling.
A team like Clemson, like what they've been, should never lose 4 teams in a conference like that. They were getting to the playoff, people said, because of how easy the ACC was. So I'm putting them in the interesting category. I don't think they're contending. I think they win
8 games. I think they win 8 games again.
They should be a contender, but I'm just like, I don't think they will. So they're interesting to me because it's like, will they end this slump?
I'll even make a bold statement. I don't think they make the playoff. I don't think they
will either.
I don't think they will.
If you
can't make a 12-team playoff and you were the national champion like 6 years ago, I don't know.
It's not going to be easy out of conference either, Ben. They kick it off with Georgia week 1. They got a tough G5 game with App State. They got, South Carolina. They should be able to win that game.
Yeah, but that's not an easy game either.
It's not anymore, especially if Lenore Sellers ends up being all that over there. So that's out of conference. In conference, so like the ACC they struggled in last year. This year they got to play NC State, Stanford. They're at Florida State. Wake Forest and Virginia, Louisville, Virginia Tech, and Pitt. And they also got like another game against the Citadel that should be a win.
I just, dude, I'm telling you, man, like
this is like the same typical ACC schedule they've always had, where they should get 10 or 11 wins in a given year. But I don't know if they can get it.
Dabo's seat is warming, and it's going to be warm the whole season.
Yeah, I'm counting Georgia as a loss. I'm counting Florida State as a loss.
Yeah.
You seem to think that Clemson will be able to beat Virginia Tech, though.
I think it'll be tight. Because I think Virginia Tech. Because I believe it's at Clemson, correct?
It's at Virginia Tech.
It's at Virginia Tech. I felt that the reason why, like, even though I'm not extremely high on Clemson, I think that the talent, we're still trying to see the talent level of Virginia Tech. I think the other teams that are on their schedule, I think talent wise, they're pretty even. But again, we've seen Clemson where they lose a bad game, but then the next game they just athlete someone, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I think that's the one game where Virginia Tech might slip up because they might be either on a roll or not on a roll. It just depends. But again, I think that's a win for them. I think Clemson will pull that one out.
All right. Another interesting team for me. Maybe you have them as a contender. Maybe some other people have them as a contender. What do you think about Louisville?
Oh, I have them here. I don't think they're contender yet. I think there still needs some work to be done.
Work to be done.
They have they have probably the best one of the best pass rushers in the country right now. So I think Louisville is always one of those teams where you want them to be really good because of the Lamar Jackson years, right? But the question is, will they ever get back to that? Is the big question.
Yeah. 7th year starting quarterback Tyler Shuck.
Oh, stop it!
Be
You say 7 year?
7
Oh
years.
my god, this is just not right. It's just not. It's just not right. Like
they had Jack Plummer, who was a former player of Jeff Brom's at Purdue, take over last year, and I think he was around for like 5 or 6
wasn't Jake
years.
Plummer also at California to start?
He was at Purdue, he was at Cal, and then I think he was at Louisville.
Oh my goodness. What is this world we live in, Josh?
We talked about Cam Rising being like basically older than us.
They're all old dudes. They're all ancient.
Yeah. But Tyler Shuck is one of those guys that was at Oregon, was supposed to be talented, never really got a shot. Texas Tech was supposed to be like talented, never really like panned out over there. So I don't know. This is his third team. I think kind of like how Plummer was on his third team with Jeff Brown before. Maybe there can be something there, but that's just taken over. They also have Ja'Cory Brooks, former Alabama receiver, adding speed to that group over there. And they should overall have a little bit more talent and experience than last year's team did that made the ACC championship game. However, I think that was more so because of the super easy schedule that they had last year. Not so much because of talent on the roster. I got to pull the schedule up here because it should be a little more difficult, a little bit.
Yeah.
They do have, as always, Kentucky at the end of the season. That could always go either way. They opened the year with Austin Peay and Jacksonville State. They got in conference Georgia Tech. They got an out of conference game at Notre Dame that they were able to win last year, but at Notre Dame this time. They also host SMU. They're at Virginia. They host Miami. They're at Boston College and Clemson. And they're at Stanford, and they host Pitt.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're on that. They're on that, I think.
They're at the top of the interesting category to me. I
Yes.
don't think that they are a contender, but if someone wanted to say they were a contender, I wouldn't fight it too hard.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're right there, right near the top. But again, not to the point where I'm like, hey, they're going to win the ACC.
What do you think about North Carolina, Ben?
They're going to struggle with a new quarterback. I don't. I think they're going to pull some wins out, but I don't think they're going to be where they were with Drake May, and not like they were really anywhere great with Drake May either.
That's where I'm kind of at. Is North Carolina has had some pretty elite quarterback play. I think we can all agree lately with Sam Howell for 3 years, I think it was, and then Drake May takes over after
and
that.
Mitch Trubisky, going back to Mitch Trubisky as well.
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky also good at the college level as well. But I don't know who is taking over now. I'm trying to find that out right now. But the only reason I bring that up is like they've had some incredible quarterback play that has covered a lot of weaknesses on the team.
Yeah.
And now if they don't have that elite quarterback, are they just going to be trash now?
Or are they just going to hand the ball off the whole time? Or are they going to become like a running team? That's all they do.
Let's see. We are looking at Connor Harrell leading the team this year.
Ooh, interesting.
He will be competing with Max Johnson, who has been at LSU and Texas A&M. Looks like also Jacoby Criswell, returns to Chapel Hill after one season at Arkansas. So it's not really like looking set in stone yet for quarterback right there. I don't know how much of a competition it actually is, but Mac Brown brought in
dude, he's still coaching.
Jeff Collins
it's
as a new coordinator.
It's always mind-boggling to remember that Mac Brown is still coaching.
He's one of 3 coaches been active head coaches with the national championship win.
That's crazy. That's only 3?
Along with Kirby Smart and Dabo Swinney.
That's nuts. That's crazy.
So, let's see. Yeah, Jeff Collins has taken over the defense. I think Gene Chizik was the defense coordinator before, and they were just like so bad. But what else do we got here on North Carolina? Also lost Tez Walker to the NFL. Yeah, another playmaker that they're going to be missing. So I'm just looking at North Carolina, and I'm like, what are they going to be without elite quarterback play? And that's why they're interesting to me. But my guess would be that they are going to be average to below average.
Agreed.
Let's see if the schedule offers any favorability to this squad. Kicking it off with Minnesota, Charlotte, NC Central, and JMU out of conference.
Ooh, JMU will not be easy.
JMU ain't going to be easy,
sure.
Yeah. And Minnesota might not even be easy for this team either. That game is at Minnesota, by the way. We talked about the Duke matchup. I think Duke can take that one. Then you got Pitt, Georgia Tech, Virginia. You're at Florida State. You get to host Wake Forest. You're at Boston College, and you host NC State. So, I mean, it is a favorable conference schedule.
Yeah. Maybe like a 7-win season.
On a year that, like, they had Drake May, I would say that this should be a 9, maybe 10-win season for them.
Yeah,
but
I think somewhere like that.
Without that level of play, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe even 7 wins.
Yeah,
Tough
I mean 7, 6, 7, something like that.
Yeah, man. Checking to see if there's any other teams in this tier. I think I'm almost done with mine. Let's see, we've talked about
Miami. Do you have Miami in this?
No. Do you?
On my list, I have them written in both. Again, kind of like Georgia Tech. Because I could see them pushing for a title, but then also they haven't shown me enough in the last few years to go, this is a team that's going to contend this year. Now, I know they have the talent, for sure. They have a lot of talent. It's Miami. They're always going to have talent. But can they put it together? That's my big thing. So that's why I have them more leaning towards this side rather than the contending, but I could see either side of it.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and you made a bold prediction about Virginia Tech. I'm going to go ahead and make a bold prediction about Miami.
Josh making bold predictions, that never happens on the show. Is it a new Josh?
It doesn't usually happen. It doesn't usually happen. And maybe it's not that bold because I think some other people in college football media might agree with me. I think Miami is going to be in the conference championship game at the end of the year.
Okay. All right. I'll give it to you.
Yeah. I was very high on Texas last year, saying that they should be either winning that conference, making a playoff, like they're going to be contending for it. They ended up doing that. What I noticed in Texas was just accumulation of talent. Steve Sarkisian improved from year 1 to year 2, and I expected that to continue into year 3. It's like, okay, the talent is all here. They're getting better. Like, it's got to happen eventually. Yeah. And I see Mario Cristobal doing the same thing at Miami. Start off with 5 wins to 7 wins, accumulating talent. They have recruited at a top 15 level, I think, under Mario in every season. And this year's freshman class ranked 4th in the country per 24/7. So those guys won't be really contributing too much this year, but just goes to show that like they are trending in the right direction still. You go and get a quarterback like Cam Ward taking over for, they just could never figure it out with Tyler Van Dyke for some reason after that promising freshman year he had. They got some NFL dudes at the tackle positions, freshman All-American, Francis, I'm going to butcher this last name, Moigoa.
Great job.
At right tackle.
Yeah. All on it. Yep. There we go.
Big time. They love that dude. Jalen Rivers at left tackle, another NFL prospect right there. Xavier Restapros leading returning wide receiver in the slot.
Well. He's a stud, that Trader. He's because he was teammates with Jeremiah Smith, and they even said like Jeremiah Smith was desperately trying to get him to come to Ohio State.
Running back should be solid too. They pulled a transfer from Oregon
Damian
State
Martinez.
that had 1,100 yards last year. Mark Fletcher, a promising freshman last year, back there as well. What I'm looking for in Miami though, Ben, is no boneheaded plays.
What do you mean?
I
Like
don't want to
taking
see
a knee? Like not taking a knee? Is that what you're saying?
I want you to win the games you should, and I don't want you to do anything stupid to cost you any games that you should. I don't want to see any upsets to teams like Middle Tennessee State. I don't think they're going to do that, though. I think that they've worked through those growing pains, and I think that Miami.
Haven't we been saying that about Miami for about 6 years now?
I haven't been, but perhaps other people have been saying. And I don't think this means that Miami is like back to the Miami glory days of old necessarily. I don't think this team is on that level, but there's absolutely no reason why Miami shouldn't be in this conference championship. Do you actually know, Ben, how many double-digit win seasons Miami has had in the last 20 years?
2?
1.
Oh, interesting. I was close.
1 double-digit win in the last 20 years. That will make the teams of the late 90s and the early 2000s roll over in their graves if they were dead. But there's just watching it and having to be miserable, unfortunately, to see what their school has become. But without further ado, Ben, the schedule reads at Florida, which we've said the Swamp is not an easy place, but Miami's also a Florida team that can handle the heat.
Yeah.
You got Florida A&M, Ball State.
We also can talk about how Florida has a terrible home atmosphere for their games.
Florida at the Swamp, Ben, is one of the best places.
No. I'm talking about Miami. Sorry, Miami. Like Miami has a terrible home.
Okay, yes,
because it's literally at the Dolphin Stadium. Like there's no atmosphere. It's just a bunch of people show up to Miami.
Yeah,
which
I would hope that this year's team is going to put butts in seats, but we'll see.
You never know.
You also are starting to get really quiet on your mic. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh, I'm probably really far away. That's probably why.
Your volume's still a little lower than what you've been talking.
Is it lower? Is it now? Is it better now? Better now?
It's not going up. Technical difficulties mid-podcast, man. Sorry about this, boys.
Can you hear me now?
Now you're louder.
Now? I'm louder now? Louder?
Yeah, you're like what you've been. Okay.
All right. I adjusted it, so maybe this will work. Okay.
All right. Anyway, out of conference, you're at Florida. You host Florida A&M and Ball State, and you're at South Florida. Then you got that tough game with Virginia Tech, but you get to be the home team at least. You're at Cal. You're at Louisville. You host Florida State.
Yep.
You host Duke.
Mm-hmm.
You're at Georgia Tech. You host Wake Forest. You're at Syracuse. You do play a lot of the tough teams in the conference.
Yeah.
But a lot of those games are on your home turf. And if you got the talent in the building that I think they have, there's no reason that they shouldn't be able to win 10 games here, Ben, and be in an ACC championship game at the end of the year. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Miami ACC championship game.
I would say that they're going to be close, but they're not going to get there. I think there's going to be like 9-3, maybe somewhere around there. And they just miss barely. But again, I think I have Virginia Tech, so I think that doesn't help. But because I think it's Virginia Tech and Florida State. So I think we both can agree on that one, that Florida State will be there. It's just who's going to join them.
Yeah. Man, that Virginia Tech, Florida, or Miami game end of September is going to be so fun. It's a Friday night game too, Ben.
And I can't wait to tell you how wrong you were.
This could be one of the losses. I'm saying like a 10-2 season.
That's true.
But yeah, even still, if they win 9 games, that's still a 2-win improvement from the year before, and Miami is on the right track under Mario. So why don't we then actually, this is one that I missed. NC State, what category do you have them in?
Like we've said when we texted before, they're probably in the interesting category. Like so many of these other teams are. Because I don't see them as a great team. I don't see them as a bad team. I just see them as like NC State, which they just always seem to be in the middle.
Yeah, they'll have like these seasons where they're supposed to be way better than what they end up being, or the hype is there, but then like some things go wrong, and it's like I'll go ahead and put them on that border too. Grayson McCall is coming over, another quarterback. Seems like that's
who's also been playing for like 25 years.
It seems like it. Yeah, we would have expected him to transfer out of Coastal Carolina last year, but ends up, I guess, finally doing it this year with NC State for some reason. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put them in that category too. They always seem to be gritty. They're tough. I put them in like my top 5 when we started doing like the main college football content, if you remember. And
Yes, I
then
do
they
remember.
lost like 2 of their first 4 games or something like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, man, Devin Leary is not all that.
No, no, he's not. No.
Nope. But I do like Grayson McCall.
Yeah, he's good. He's a good ball player.
Yeah. Um, this is probably going to be the smallest category of contenders we've had
It
so
will be
far.
for sure.
Yeah, like I'm putting Miami in my contender category. You're putting Virginia Tech in your contender
Yeah.
category, and I mean, let's talk about Florida State now. I'm
Oh
assuming they're the
wow,
favorite.
shocker.
Oh, Florida State. As much as it pains me to say, I think Florida
I mean, they're
State
gone after
is
this year. You know they're leaving the conference after this year. It's just obvious.
could be going to the Big 12. You're absolutely right. It wouldn't shock me if they did, especially with how
Look,
much their money
if
and
that
views they bring to
happens,
that conference.
let's just redo the conferences at that point. Let's just all scatter them all over the place.
So I don't think it's going to be an easy going for Florida State as it was last year. I mean, it's tough to top an undefeated season, and somehow they still didn't even make the playoff. But I think in a 12-team format, there's no way you're leaving them out
Yeah, for sure.
unless
For
they
sure.
do something like drastic, like only win 8 games or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of holes to fill here, obviously. Jordan Travis is gone. Trey Benson is gone. Keon
Yeah.
Coleman is gone. Johnny Wilson is gone. Jaheim Bell is gone. Like basically everybody that contributed to your offense is gone.
Defense, a lot of defensive guys are gone.
A lot of defensive guys too. Yes. What was it? I think in the bowl game that they played against Georgia, they had 15 of their 22 starters
Yeah.
leave because
It's
they
just
either were
rough.
going to the portal or to the NFL. So there's a lot to replace right there. The big headliner coming in would be DJ Uiagalelei onto his third team, former Clemson, Oregon State quarterback to bridge the gap. They got some young quarterbacks in the building that they don't believe are ready to go just yet. Croman Hook and Brock Glenn over there. So Uiagalelei, I mean, I think you know what you get with him. He's not going to do anything flashy, but he's going to keep
Yeah.
the ship steady, I think, and bring some experience. The offensive line, good news when you have, I guess, a lot of new faces on the skill position group. Offensive line is combined for 190 starts at the FBS level, and 123 of them have been at Florida State. So that's some consistency there, some experience. Maurice Smith is going to have to stay healthy at center. Robert Scott Jr. Also at tackle. The health of those guys is going to really, I guess, drive what happens over here. The other thing too that I noticed, Ben, Florida State continued to do well in the transfer portal, and they pillaged a lot of that Alabama roster.
They did.
They got a lot coming over from that team.
It's just like I think I saw a meme that said like it had like a meme of like Saban was like packing up in the car, and you just see like all these little cars that are like around the corner of the house, and they're all just like scooting closer, and like the person getting ready to put garage sale out on the lawn or like sale, and you just see like just them drive by like slowly like, hey, how you doing? I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
That's basically what happened. I mean, that was like full on machine gun fire.
I would also expect the defense to continue to be gritty like it
Yeah,
was at
they
the end
are.
of the
They
year
always
when they
are.
were
Always are.
playing with a third string quarterback, but let me go ahead and read the schedule here for you. The schedule last year was very front loaded. They had obviously the out of conference game with LSU. They had the
Yeah.
Clemson game week 4. Let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule this year. I don't think it's gonna affect my prediction for them too much, but they open the year with conference games at Georgia Tech and at home against Boston College. Then they play Memphis at home, Cal at home. They got to go to SMU. They got to host Clemson. They're at Duke. They're at Miami. So those 4 games right there, SMU, Clemson, Duke, Miami, that'll be a tough middle of the season stretch for them. But then they get a break with the home game against North Carolina, and then they got to go to Notre Dame. Then they host Charleston Southern, and they host Florida.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see them losing many games, to be honest with you. Maybe one.
I think this is one of the harder ACC schedules, but even still, it's like Florida State, I expect to be the Kings. So this shouldn't be anything that like should throw them off.
Yeah, agreed. I think maybe one loss.
I'm saying like 11-1 is
yeah. And I have them winning the ACC. So
me too. Back-to-back ACC champs on my watch as well. They will beat Miami Hurricanes in that championship game. I'm saying. I think the other team that I have in this category, and for good reason, but they are a newcomer adjusting to heavier competition, is SMU.
Yeah, I think SMU is a contender, which I didn't think I would say, but that's
They
just
won
again,
11 games.
it shows how mid this conference is.
They won 11 games in their G5 conference last year. I think that was the American Conference.
Yes, I believe that they're in the same one with as Liberty. I believe they were in the same one. Okay. I believe.
Won 11 games last year. And they also are top 10 in the country in returning production, I believe. So a lot of faces from that team. They always do really well in the transfer portal. But the reason
amazing jerseys, by the way, too.
Oh yeah, really amazing jerseys. Amazing history too.
Yeah, I mean, love the cheating
NIL,
scandals.
Before NIL, they like ran NIL.
They did.
They did.
They were basically the accountants for all the Alabama teams. Basically, that's what it was.
Yeah. So I'm throwing them in the contender category because I think going from a G5 to the ACC is about the easiest jump you can make from the Power 5 level. It's just that last year we saw UCF, Houston, Cincy, those teams that joined the Big 12, like there was a noticeable dip in their records.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go ahead and say that SMU is going to win the conference or anything like that, but I'm going to go ahead and say that they are going to be a real contender because, like we said, there's a lot more middle of the pack teams in this conference, I think, than contenders. And just with all the talent that they got coming back from an 11-win team, you got to include them in that category.
Oh, agree, 100%, 100%.
Yeah. So I think that
that does it, right?
All the bases here. I think we've got through all 17 teams.
Which
no, we did not. We forgot about Syracuse.
Oh, why did I put that? They're definitely not a contender. Sorry, they're interesting. They're not a contender. I'm not putting them in the contender spot.
I'm not going to put them in contender spot.
Interesting.
Either. I just totally went over them.
It's fine. No, I hate McCord, so
they are interesting to me because they have the blueprint to finish 11-1 without the schedule reads, but they will not. I think Kyle McCord went to this school because he doesn't want any pressure.
He doesn't want any. He
doesn't want to be in the spotlight. Yep.
Like, I truly believe that Ryan Day was like, hey, if you want to stay and compete, like, we'll give you the fair shot. You'll get like but I think he honestly was just like, I don't want to, like, I think he just doesn't want to compete. I think he just wants to be handed a job.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, why did he not go to Rutgers? Which, by the way, his dad played at Rutgers. I thought that was a foregone conclusion. He'd go to Rutgers for sure.
It made sense. But then he would have had to have played Ohio State.
That's true. And he would have got booed out the wazoo when he came back.
And you can't do that. So
you cannot
I think
do
that played into it too. But yeah, Syracuse has like the Louisville schedule last year, really. Pretty easy path.
Easy.
And if you look at it as in they got Ohio State's starting quarterback from last year to come over,
you'd be thinking who did really well. Yeah.
Yeah. You'd be thinking like, heck yeah, Syracuse. But
they haven't met Kyle McCord. They haven't met Kyle McCord when the pressure gets to him.
They've had like some decent quarterbacks come through, like Garrett Schrader, but they always seem like that one team where it's like they start the year off 4-0 because out of conference plays,
and then they just go down the drain,
and then they finish the year 6-6 because they can't contend against P5 teams.
Agreed.
So they're not going to have as many tough teams in the conference to compete with, and they do have McCord, which we'll find out if that's an upgrade from Garrett Schrader or not. I don't think it really will be, but
no,
I'm putting them in the interesting category. Not the contender category, although if everything like fell into place perfectly, they could be, one of those top 3, top 4 teams, but I'm not going to go ahead and put them in that contender category. They're interesting though. Syracuse is interesting.
Yes, agreed.
Now we are done with the ACC.
Yes, now we are done, which means we have to finish up the episode. We have one league division left to talk about in the NFL. And this week it is, Josh, drum roll,
the AFC East.
The most interesting. No, it's not. It's not the most interesting. It's the most boring, bland division in the NFL, I believe. I'm going to just say it.
It can't be.
The Dolphins. Yay. Like that literally, the rest is just bland.
Well, I'm going to try to sell the AFC East as best as I can for
But
being
you
much more
have to
interesting.
listen. You have to admit it's definitely not in the top five.
I think that I think the standings are pretty are going to be pretty easy to predict, but I think that teams in here have a lot of interesting things to consider.
You mean how like the Bills gave up their whole team basically? Yeah.
Let's start off with the Bills actually, because they're trying to win, I think, the
Well,
division the
how about
fourth
how
year in a
before we
row.
talk about the Bills, how about we just give our predictions so people know like where we rank the teams, and then we can break them down. I think that helps people understand like where we rank the teams.
Okay.
All right, so
I am going
you go
to
first. You start with number one down to four.
number one for me is the Miami Dolphins.
Okay. Okay. We don't have to
Number
explain now.
two,
We can just go through it.
yeah. Number two, I'm going to go with the Bills.
Okay.
Number three, the Jets. Number four, the Pats.
I'm gonna go one Miami. I'm gonna go two New York Jets.
Okay.
I'm going
I won't fight you too much on it.
three Buffalo Bills, and four the Patriots don't even deserve to be in the division.
Not anymore.
No.
So this is what we got here. Per Bet NGM, since this was the first I guess odds or list of odds that I saw, Buffalo is looking to win the division a fourth year in a row. They got the best odds at plus 155, followed by Miami at plus 175, the Jets at plus 240, and then the Pats at plus 1800.
Come on, have the people not been paying attention to what the Bills been doing all off season?
That's what I'm saying. So let's go ahead and
Oh
we'll get
my
to that,
goodness.
but we'll kick it off with our unanimous selection
Yes.
to win the division.
Yes.
And I
Best
think
best offense in football.
it's going to be one of the best offenses in football. If they do not win the division, it's going to be because they
Their
never
defense.
adjusted to playing the defense. Losing Christian Wilkins is going to suck.
Oh, it's gonna be awful.
Also, they beat up on a lot of bad teams last year. Like they put that 70 piece up on Denver, but anytime they had to play anybody good, they were the ones getting the piss beaten out of them. So Miami's like a really weak, I think, division winner in that sense. If it ends up being the same kind of team, like the Mike McDaniel offense, is flashy, it's fast, it's fun, but there's not a lot of toughness.
They're like a Ford Mustang. It goes really fast in the open track, but as soon as you get it into those corner straights, it breaks down all the time. Why does Ford stand for? Fix or repair daily, or found on the road dead. And that's what the Miami Dolphins team is at times.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the surface, you got like
some cool thing,
there,
man.
That's fast.
Got some ring, got some
Tyreek
cool
Hill
rims,
fast.
But
they got some they definitely got speed to burn over there, but it ultimately doesn't lead to a lot of toughness. And then when you get to the cold weather games too, they're just not built for it, Ben.
Nope.
But I think that them winning the division is more so what I think about maybe some of these other teams. But I think Miami's got to be the favorite.
Yep, favorite.
We'll go ahead and look at their schedule here real quick. Read it off to the audience here. So we've got opening the season with home games against the Jags and the Bills. We go to Seattle. We're hosting the Titans. We're at the Patriots and the Colts before you get to host the Cardinals. Then you're at Buffalo. You're at the Rams. You're hosting Vegas. You're hosting the Pats. You're at Green Bay. You host the Jets. You're at Houston. You're hosting the 49ers. You're at Cleveland. And you're at the Jets. That is a tough last 6 games of the season, I'll say.
But I still believe, though, that I think by that point they might have the division close to wrapped up by that point. Or
I don't
getting
know if
close.
It's ever wrapped up.
I mean, it's not ever wrapped up. What I mean is
weeks into the season.
But what I mean is that they might have a point where like, hey, we can lose 1 or 2, 3 games, and we still have a good shot at pulling out the division. Because I think there's a big enough gap, right? At least from my perspective, between 1 and 2 in this division. Maybe not a lot of games, but maybe 2 or 3 games. That is in my eyes.
I could see that. Yeah, it's going to be they're going to have to definitely win as many of these games early in the season as they can, especially this stretch here where they are playing the Titans, the Pats, the Colts, the Cardinals. Like, you got to win all 4 of those for sure.
Yeah.
So, Miami number 1 for me in the division. And you as well. So, number 2, though, this is where I could see a couple different things going a couple different ways. So, The Jets and the Bills could flip-flop them, I think.
Yeah.
The Bills got obviously the pedigree winning the division 3 years in a row. You got a top 5 quarterback in the league in Josh Allen, but
nothing else.
That's about it. So what's going to be the determining factor, I think, for Buffalo, just their whole status of not only this division, but the NFL, is can Josh Allen rise up and be a Patrick Mahomes-esque quarterback? And what I mean by that is, can he have a mid wide receiver corps? Can his defense be one of the worst in the NFL? And can you still count on him to go out there and win you 11 or 12 games? Because as we talked about in the offseason, most of the defense is getting new faces. There were so many free agents, and they didn't really go out and re-sign many of them. They lost Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, their 2 starting receivers, and they're replacing them with rookies like Keon Coleman. You lose, let me see who else you lost. You lost Leonard Floyd, big-time pass rusher on the defensive side. You lose Tre'Davious White. You lose Micah Hyde. Like, these are a lot of faces. Yeah, I'm just looking through all the names right now. And they lost their starting center too. That's another one.
Yeah, I mean, they've lost everything.
Yeah, so this is a team that's like, there's just not a lot of weapons over here. They're gonna have to rely heavy on rookies. Yeah, so I guess basically what it comes down to is, can Josh Allen be like Patrick Mahomes-esque?
Yeah.
I think he can be almost that.
Almost, but yeah, it's tough for me. And that's why I have, like, I was talking about the Jets, is like, I just think like Aaron Rodgers being healthy. Again, we don't know how healthy he is. We don't know how mobile he is, but I think you add what the Jets have added, and they're trying to make differences. They're trying to add things to help him, rather than, like, if I'm Josh Allen going, did you just want to take away like everything that I had? But I think Aaron Rodgers, you give him the actual full year instead of, one half of a game. I think for me, it's like, I just think the Jets can put together something that is more relative to, hey, we can maybe squeak out a 10-7 season, and finish second, and maybe you get a chance at the wild card, maybe you don't, but at least you finish second. And I just think the Bills, like, getting rid of all the talent. I know you want to save money or however you want to word it. It's just like, man, this could cost you from going first to third in one offseason. Then how many offseasons will that take to build it back up?
I think they got a harder schedule than the Dolphins too, Ben. They got the Ravens on here. They got the Texans on there. They got the Chiefs, the 49ers, the Rams, the Lions. Obviously got to play the Jets twice.
Yeah.
Obviously got to play the Dolphins twice. Yeah, not a whole lot of room for error here. I guess the reason that I'm not picking the Jets, and I agree with you completely, I think they went out and did a lot of good things. They went out and got Mike Williams at wide receiver, although injury prone, so we'll see how good of a move that ends up being. Tyron Smith at tackle. They draft Ali Fashanu. Love that pick for them. And you get a healthy Aaron Rodgers back. But I guess I'm just kind of wondering, what does a healthy Aaron Rodgers look like at age 41 anymore?
Yeah.
Is he worth talking about?
And again, I have nothing to believe that he won't be something that's good, because it's Aaron Rodgers, and he's proved kind of like Tom Brady, where he always just seems to show up. So until I see otherwise, I kind of give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. Luckily, the offensive line, like we just said, should be a strength with the additions that they made over there. They've been building one of the best defenses in the league over the last couple of years, and they've just been like that one quarterback away, which is why I guess they'd be definitely somebody to consider to win this division, if not at least get second. But
yeah,
I guess right now I'm just like, I don't know really how much these guys are going to hold up health-wise, some of the additions they made, and also, like, what is Aaron Rodgers anymore? Is he somebody that, like, we should be scared of?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I see as far as the Jets go, and I'll go ahead and read off that schedule for you. So they did win 7 games last year in Aaron Rodgers' absence. So Zach Wilson's either really good or nah, he ain't really good. But regular season, they're kicking it off with the 49ers week 1. Lot of pretty favorable schedule here, Ben. I might actually flip my pick to the Jets being second. So they got 49ers week 1, which is tough. They got at Titans, host the Patriots. They get to host the Broncos. They're at the Vikings. That is in London, though, so it's not really an at, but still the Vikings. Not expecting too much from them. You got the Bills. You're at the Steelers. At the Patriots. You host the Texans. You're at the Cardinals. You host the Colts. You host the Seahawks. Then you got at the Dolphins, at Jags, host the Rams, at the Bills, host the Dolphins. I think out of the teams we've read so far, that's the easiest schedule so far.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, it is.
Maybe I will in time flip my Jets pick to second, but now I'm believing a little bit in Josh Allen right here and the pedigree over there with him. But finally, Ben, this takes us to the New England Patriots.
Okay.
Who won 4 games last year. They won 4 games last year
they're so
Bill
bad.
Belichick's final season.
So bad.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and read a couple things you might not have expected, though, from the Patriots. Let me see here. So the Patriots last year were 5th in points per drive, despite the offense giving them the worst average starting field position in the NFL. A lot of that could have been Bill Belichick still being like one of the best defensive minds in the NFL. And we do have Gerard Mayo, who's a Belichick product,
disciple. Yeah.
A former Patriot, right? But how many times have we had this conversation where we're like, oh, Belichick disciple, really good, and then ends up being like a failure, just like Josh McDaniels, Matt Patricia, Eric Mangini, Romeo Crennel, Joe Judge. Like, it doesn't really mean anything to me.
Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't really mean anything to me that you're a Belichick disciple. But middle linebacker is who Gerard Mayo was, so there's definitely some intelligence there. He's led a defense before. You draft Drake May, which I think is good, but the offseason they didn't do a whole lot of work, Ben. They went in with the most cap space in the NFL to kick the offseason off, and didn't really go out and make any big purchases. So I don't know if this is just them taking things slow and steady, hoping to accumulate some draft picks, and maybe, I don't know if tank would be the right word, but
close.
Kind of, yeah. Like, they didn't get rid of a lot of good players. They just didn't go out and get any good ones when they had the finances to do it.
Yeah.
So could be going towards something, but I think this rebuild is going to take a few years.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to take a few years, and I'm sorry, Patriots fans, and makes me happy to say I'm sorry, Patriots fans. It does make me a little happy to say that. It's kind of nice after a while.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It's so nice.
Feels great.
Feels good. But yeah, that's the
heck of a few games to start the year off, Ben. They got to go to Cincinnati. They host Seahawks. They're at the Jets. They're at the 49ers. They host the Dolphins, and they host the Texans.
Yeah, they're going to be bad.
That's a heck of a 6-game stretch to kick the year off. But yeah, AFC East.
That's it. I will say that there is one topic that we did not talk about that I briefly want to talk about. I just wanted to say that our condolences go out to Donald J. Trump, our former president. I know Josh and we're on opposite sides of the world, but it's interesting for me. I found out about it in like the middle of the night. I was taking my dog out at like 2 a.m. I found out about it. And if you didn't know, you've been living under a rock for the last 4 days. But Josh, what were your initial reaction? I know we're not a politics show, but I think it is important to talk about this because I think it's something that is very, very serious in our country. What was your thoughts on it before we go? I want to get your thoughts and my thoughts as well.
First thought was like, who screwed up to, I guess, allow something like this to happen?
Ridiculous.
And then the second thought was, I'm surprised nobody has tried this sooner, given like the rhetoric when it comes to Trump. But third thought was like, what a beast, man, with the photo and the way that he got up and reacted, that photo, and how he's still going.
I love Stephen A. Like, Stephen A. Smith is the biggest liberal in sports media, but he even said, he's like, it's over. That picture won him the election. Like, he's like, Biden can't put anything together that tops that picture. Like the man was shot in the ear. Like, I mean, he turned his head. Like, I think you saw this too, probably.
He turned his head at just the right time. Like, the shot was aimed perfectly, but he moved.
If you don't believe in God,
just enough.
If you don't believe in God, God spared his life. Like, that moment is just ironic. They showed it even both ways too. They said if he turned his head either other way, it was the way he turned it, because they said if he turned it the other way, he would have been shot in the back of the head, or the other way would have been a different angle. It's surprising to me. I agree with you on the security breach, not breach, because I guess he was outside of the security zone. He's 140 yards away, people. People don't realize, like, that's not far. Like, most competitive shooters can shoot it.
Yeah.
Now I know he was a 20-year-old kid. He's going through his own things. Like, again, I'm not here to do that. But what I am here to say is that I'm so sick and tired of people in social media and streamers that are coming out and like saying like, oh, I wish they wouldn't have missed. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't care. Like, if it was Joe Biden, like, yeah, I don't like the guy. I don't like what he's done with our country, but I'm not going to be here and say, oh, wow, I hope they would have, connected. Right. Like, I just, it's so despicable, and it shows how far our country has fallen, man. Like, I don't know about you, but that's been the most sickening part over the last couple days.
Equally as annoying has been everybody in the media that's been like calling Trump a fascist, calling him Hitler over the last 10 years, that are now saying like political violence isn't the answer, when they've basically been calling for this.
No, it's that too. And
like, if someone like took a shot at Adolf Hitler, would you be saying political violence isn't the answer, or would you have been applauding that?
Yeah, and that's what
I
a lot
think
of
we
people
all
are
would have
saying.
applauded it if someone like took a shot at Hitler and actually hit him. So it's like, do you actually believe what you're saying about Trump, or
what people are
like
saying
being
is like
disingenuous about the violence now?
Someone said that like now the left is in a spot where they have to pick a side. Either they basically go against everything they've been saying, and they disown their own words to then say,
Yeah.
hey, we support what Trump, who he is and as a person, or you double down and say, hey, I wish, whatever would have happened.
Yeah, they're like trying to like play it both ways, and it's like, you're just a liar.
And I don't know about you, Josh. I know we don't talk politics a lot on the show, but it's very hard for me to think that in any way Donald Trump loses this election. Like, I think it's
I read a chart when Ronald Reagan was they attempted an assassination on him. It was one of the biggest like landslides in presidential election history. That it was like basically just all red. Every state like except one was like red.
It's hard for me. Like, I have liberal friends that are like, I'm voting for Trump. Not because I like the guy, because I'm tired of our country being screwed up. And I think of JD Vance, an Ohio guy, being the vice president. Like, I just think it, and also Trump playing chess out here. He's finding a young dude that's 38 that's like, hey, here's the next 8 years.
Also,
after
dude
me.
that's like been on the record saying he's a never Trump guy, and also has said that Trump might be Hitler too. I'm just oh, now you get a VP opportunity, and you just oh yeah, I'm all about it. Like,
I just think it's hilarious.
Same thing that Kamala Harris did with Joe Biden, by the way.
But I think the difference is, though, is that this guy is extremely smart, extremely intelligent, and Donald Trump Jr. is the one that really encouraged his dad to get him. And Donald Trump Jr., if you know anything about him, he's very picky about political things, especially helping his dad. So very fascinating. And but our prayers do go out. Hopefully everything ends up being okay. And yeah. But anyways, that is today's show. Josh, what a show it's been. The ACC, the AFC East. It's been a fun challenge to discuss it, because it is such a weird conference in football.
So many teams, dude.
It is.
Can't get a good read on all of them.
Yeah, agreed. And so super excited, super to see what's happening with this conference coming up in football. But we hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have, go ahead and click that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead and make sure you leave us a good old star rating. Let us know how much you enjoy it, and comment down below. Once again, hope you guys have a great weekend, and until next time, we'll see ya.